Welcome to episode 156 of Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece. My name is MyLinda Butterworth, and today we continue with the tales of Odysseus and the story of Penelope and the Suitors. And now, the goddess breathed into Penelope the wish to appear before the suitors, to fill their hearts with longing, and to prove her true worth and faithfulness in front of her son and husband, of whose presence, to be sure, she was not aware. Her old and loyal servant applauded her decision. "Go, daughter," she said, "and speak words of counsel to your son, and while there is still time. But they must not see you down there as you are now, your lovely face stained with tears. First bathe and anoint yourself, and then confront the suitors." But Penelope shook her head and replied, "Do not expect that of me. Ever since my husband shipped for Troy, I have had no pleasure in adorning myself. But now call my maids, Autonoa and Hippodamia. They shall come with me, for I do not wish to appear before these men unaccompanied." When your enemy went to fetch the tirewomen, Athene lulled Penelope, reclining in a chair, into a sweet sleep which lasted no more than a few moments. But this was long enough for the goddess to endow her with unearthly beauty. She refreshed her face with ambrosia, with which Aphrodite anoints herself when she goes to dance with the Graces. She made her taller and lither, and shed over her skin the whiteness of new ivory. Then Athene vanished. As her two handmaids hurried into the room, Penelope awoke, rubbed her eyes, and said, "How sweetly that I slept! I wish the gods would this very instant send me so sweet a death that I would no longer have to grieve for my husband and endure what goes on in this house." With these words, she rose from her chair and descended to the suitors below. She stood in the doorway of the great hall, her beauty shining through her veil, and when the suitors saw her, their hearts beat high, and each longed to have her as his wife. But the queen turned to her son and said, "Telemachus, I am surprised at you. Even as a boy you showed more sense than you do now that you are tall and grown. Why do you sit there and say nothing when the poor stranger who came to us for shelter was mocked and insulted? This will disgrace us in the eyes of the world." "I do not wonder at your distress, dear mother," Telemachus replied, "and I know well what is right, but these men are all against me. There is not one who would support me in anything I did. As for this fight, it did not end as the suitors hoped. I only wished that they were forced to hang their heads like that miserable fellow out in the court." Telemachus had spoken in so low a voice that the suitors could not hear him. And now Eurymachus, quite unaware of what had been said, called to the queen, "Daughter of Icarus, if the Achaeans and the whole of Greece could see you, there would be many more suitors here tomorrow, for you excel all other women in beauty and wisdom." "Ah, Eurymachus," Penelope answered, "my beauty paled when my husband left for Troy. If he came back, if my life were once more protected by his arms, I might bloom again. But now I am stricken with sorrow. When Odysseus bade me farewell, when he clasped my right hand at the wrist for the last time, he said, 'Not all the Achaeans will return from Troy unharmed. They say that the Trojans know the art of war. What they are good at casting the javelin, shooting with the bow, and guiding their chariots. And so I do not know whether I am destined to return or to die before Troy. Watch over the house and take care of my father and my mother even more tenderly than you have been doing. And if I am not home by the time our son is grown, then marry if you like and leave our house.' That is what he said. And now all is coming true. The terrible day of the wedding draws near, and I think of it with dread, for these suitors behave very differently from other wooers. If a man desires the daughter of a distinguished father as his wife, it is customary for him to bring cattle and sheep for the feast, and gifts for the bride, but not to waste the stores of another man without offering compensation." It gave Odysseus keen pleasure to hear her speak with such wisdom. But Antinous replied in the name of all the suitors, "Noble queen, we shall gladly bring you costly gifts and ask you to accept them. But we shall not go home until you have chosen one among us for your husband." All the suitors applauded these words. Servants were dispatched, and soon they returned with the promised gifts. Antinous presented her with a robe woven in many colors and fastened with 12 clasps of gold fitted to widely curved catches. Eurymachus offered a necklace of amber beads strung on gold, and it shone like the sun. Eurydamas held out to her earrings set with 3 mulberry-colored jewels. A Pisanter gave her a pendant exquisitely wrought. The other suitors also brought costly gifts, which the servants carried up to Penelope as she returned to her chamber. And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales, many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.